You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG, it's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 653.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from the APG Road Vessel Studio. Today's show is recorded on the week of March 3rd, 2025.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Put your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, a Virgin Australia pilot tips off the world about a Chinese drill using live fire. And fire breaks out in the cabin of an Airbus as it pushes back from the gate in South Korea. Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and lock positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 653 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation on 1010 Winds 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and redacted Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from his studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
redacted professional dog photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, it's Captain Nick.
Oh, hi there, Jeff. Hi, everybody. Lovely to be back on the show. Now, APG 653 reminds me of the unsolved mystery of Malaysian Flight 653. Not the one that disappeared over the Indian Ocean, but a 737 that was hijacked between Penang and Kuala Lumpur in 1977. The crew were told to fly to Singapore, but they argued they didn't have enough fuel. Now, the mystery is because no one really knows quite what happened next, but it's probable that the hijackers shot both pilots, and being unable to fly the aircraft, it then crashed, killing all 100 on board, and absolutely no motive for the hijack was ever discovered.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Hey, let's shoot the
Mystery in Malaysia.
Let's shoot those pilots. Oh, wait. No, we should have done that.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That's an interesting one. And also joining us from his home studio in the air capital, low and slow pilot, A&P mechanic, old airplane enthusiast, and engineer in the aerospace and defense industry. It's Nick Macho Camacho.
Hey, Captain Jeff. I'm glad to be back. I had to take a little time off to do some work stuff, crisscrossing the country, but I am happily back at home and glad to join you guys.
Probably great to be home. Great to have you with us again. We've missed
Good
you.
to see you, Nick.
Yeah. And also, last but not least, from her lakeside studio. No, she doesn't have a lakeside studio.
I don't know. No.
Unless you have like a big giant puddle out the back. But,
No.
All right, from her studio in Toronto, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, it's our producer, Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody on a Saturday.
It's nice
Hi,
to see you.
Liz.
All right.
Okay, have a good show, you guys.
All right, we'll try. Let's start off with some aviation news.
Stand by for news.
All right, this is sent in to us from Tim Van Ram and Tim Hitchens. The Tims. Let's see, some news here. Virgin pilot alerted Australia to China Navy live fire drill. Tim says, one of the Tims says, hello, APG. I know this was a bad week to take a break from producing the show. I guess this was sent in about a week ago or so. I thought this item was worthy for the news segment. An article from G Captain. I don't know what that is. A great source for maritime news. And it's relevant for APG.
Well, it actually isn't from there because I couldn't get into that website. You needed to be a member. So somewhere else.
Okay. Well, then looks like we got this from australianaviation.com.au, right?
Yeah.
Let's see. Virgin pilot alerted Australia to China Navy live fire drill. Australia was unaware Chinese warships were set to conduct live fire exercises off its east coast until its security authorities were alerted via a Virgin Australia pilot who heard radio communications about the drills, according to a top air traffic official. As Beijing and Canberra trade accusations over last week's military exercises, Rob Sharp, Chief Executive Officer of Air Services Australia, told a Senate hearing late Monday that his organization only became aware of the drills shortly before they began. One of the group's air traffic controllers was informed by a Virgin pilot. That's how we first found out, he told the parliamentary panel. The pilot relayed to the Australian controller Friday morning that a foreign warship was broadcasting that they were conducting live firing 300 nautical miles, which is 555 kilometers, east off our coast. After it was notified, Air Services Australia issued a hazard alert within 2 minutes to all commercial pilots flying across the Tasman Sea. Shortly after that, Australia's Department of Defence was notified. In total, 49 flights diverted around the area of the live fire drills, and planes continued to avoid the area over the course of the weekend. Let's see. The Australian Defence Department said in a statement that the 3 Chinese warships had re-entered the nation's exclusive economic zone on Tuesday morning. The vessels were about 160 nautical miles east of Hobart, near Australia's southernmost state of Tasmania. The 3 Chinese warships undertook the highly unusual drills in international waters between Australia's heavily populated east coast and New Zealand's west coast on Friday, drawing strong reactions from officials in both Canberra and Wellington. They criticized the lack of notice given in advance of the live fire drills. All right, well, we respect the rights of all states under international law to exercise freedom of navigation and overflight in international waters and airspace, just as we expect others to respect our right to do the same, according to a spokesman at the Defense Department. So I guess it wasn't really illegal or against international law to do what they did. It's just that I guess the point is that they probably should have given a little bit more notice so that air services could divert people away from that area, and dispatchers planning flights and such would be,
ships and stuff.
Yeah, and ships as well. Yeah. I don't know. A live fire exercise could be many things, I guess. I don't, if you fly right over the top at 30-something thousand feet, is that going to be an issue? Or I don't know. Guess it depends.
It's, it's an interesting one, Jeff, because most countries have indications of where their danger areas for this kind of activity are, and they usually have limits, so upper and lower limits, so that when they activate them, everyone knows how to avoid them, how much to avoid them. But there's absolutely nothing to stop you just declaring a live fire exercise in a certain area, so long as you let everyone know. You don't have to have a predefined danger area that is on everyone's maps, which is a great advantage if you've taken the trouble to say, right, these are the danger areas we're going to regularly use, so they're on the maps, and we will advertise them via NOTAM so that everyone knows when they're active. And out in Australia, I remember we conducted live air-to-air missile firings in areas that we activated just for those few days that we were doing those exercises. In order to do the firing, we had a couple of aircraft down there. One was going to fire. There was going to be a drone to tow the decoy the missile was aimed at. And then the other guy, which a role I'd performed on several of these missions, was the range safety officer. So it was my job to clear the range, make sure there were no shipping in the range, which I did with a mixture of visual and radar, and then accompany the firer and authorize him to shoot, knowing the areas that I had cleared and that he was pointing in a safe direction and locked on to the correct target. If your ship's firing stuff, I don't know what they were firing. If they're firing guns, they can do it in a low trajectory against a target that's fairly close, or they could try and lob shells like they might do if they were bombarding the coastline, in which case those shells are going to go very high before they come back down again. And if they're live, then they've obviously got explosives in them, and they can be a severe danger, even if they haven't got explosive, and just a big 6-inch solid shell coming through your aircraft is going to wake you up. So it sounds to me like I don't have a problem with China doing this. I do have a problem with China not letting everybody know that they're doing it, because then it becomes a real problem.
So the method of clearing out the range for the live fire exercise by just like spraying everything with as much machine gun fire as possible, that's kind of
sinking all the ships.
Yes,
that's kind of frowned upon. Is that what you're saying, Captain Nick? I think that's what
No, I think that's perfectly valid.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's one way
if
to
your
clear
country's on that list of special countries that we all keep an eye on, then that's what we expect.
Well, we probably are.
Two procedures, one friendly and unfriendly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Well, thank you, Tim, for sending in that news item.
More military.
And we'll stay with the military beat.
This is a bad one.
This is from the BBC.com. So speaking of clearing out the area, South Korea Air Force said that its KF-16 fighter, I guess a Korean-made F-16, fighter jet accidentally dropped 8 bombs outside of its firing range during a military drill, and we have all these nice images that Liz is showing in the video, and none of them actually an F-16.
I was going to say,
I got him from the article.
I know, I'm not blaming you, Liz. It's the people writing the articles, I think. I just thought it was kind of, I just chuckled when I saw all these different images. I'm thinking, yeah, not a one of them has an F-16.
All right, we'll move on to the damage one then.
Oh, that one though, that's legit right there. That's some of the damage. 15 people in South Korea were injured, 2 of them seriously, after a pair of fighter jets accidentally dropped 8 bombs in a civilian district on Thursday during a live fire military exercise. Somebody can take over for me while I clear my throat, please.
Yeah, apparently the military said that one of the pilots in one of the jets inputted the wrong coordinates by mistake, causing the bombs to drop in the civilian community. Now, all right, you input the coordinates in order to give your weapon system somewhere for you to look at, but you actually deliver the weapons visually most of the time. I mean, there are obviously aircraft that can deliver radar-guided bombs. So, you use your radar to lock onto a feature, etc. But in peacetime, particularly when you're around civilian areas that are populated by the...
It says Mark 82 bombs. Mark 82s are the dumbest of dumb bombs.
Yeah, they are. You can put a laser guided head on the front of a Mark 82, but it doesn't say it has that. And they say they dropped 8 shells of Mark 82. Now, does that mean that they weren't filled with explosive? Because you can drop concrete ones if you're doing an exercise. But I don't know if they were Mark 82s that were fully armed up and full of the normal explosives, I wouldn't have thought that house would still be standing in any form or manner. There'd be a massive crater there. So it makes me think perhaps they were inert. I don't know. They haven't given us enough information. But the fact is that I haven't got a lot of sympathy with the guy because he incorrectly identified his target.
Well, here's the question I have for you, Captain Nick. The next paragraph says that investigators have yet to determine why the second jet dropped its bombs, adding all life. What?
Because he was following his leader like a good wingman.
Yeah, he put in the wrong.
That's all I can say.
Oh.
We always, when I was doing this role, we always delivered, guided, aimed, and delivered our weapons independently. We didn't do it sort of welded into one aircraft and just copy what they do, because you're not going to get very accurate results if you do that. If you just wait for his bombs to come off and then you release your bombs, there's going to be, a few milliseconds between, and that's all it takes for your bombs to fly an extra, 1,000 yards or whatever, and you miss the target completely. So I don't know.
Comment by
iHall Boxes in the audience says they took the first suggestion on Google Maps. Maybe.
Could be. It might be that they were supposed to be laser guided and they didn't guide correctly. But you normally need a pretty big range before you drop those, because you've got to take into account the likelihood of a bomb going haywire. And
but
if
would all the laser guidance on every bomb be wrong? Wouldn't it?
Well, if they put the wrong coordinates in.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the.
Got it.
Yeah, the LGBs, depending on the type, they can revert to either a memorized position or a coordinate if they don't pick up the sparkle of the laser emitted. But, it's a kind of a fallback situation. If they lose the laser guidance, they'll just go with what they have in their the bomb's memory. So, and bear in mind, I last dropped proper bombs a long time ago, so a lot has probably changed since then.
At least they didn't kill anybody, thankfully.
Yeah, nobody was killed.
They didn't kill anybody. That's brilliant. But it's surprisingly common for military aircraft to drop bombs on the wrong place or make a mistake delivering weapons, despite how well you think they're trained. It happens with monotonous regularity.
I don't want to hear that.
In fact, if you don't live near a bombing range, you're probably going to be okay. But I do remember that just while I was training, it's just a slightly amusing story. We had a doctor who was training to be a fighter pilot because he was going to become an aeromedical advisor. This is when our aeromedical doctors, a lot of them were fully trained pilots, so they really did know their business. Anyway, he was coming in his Hunter to drop a bomb, and these are only little practice bombs, so they're kind of about that big, 28 pounds with smoke and flash in the front. And he decided he wasn't going to drop his bomb on this pass because the aiming solution wasn't very good. But as he pulled away from the target and lifted his nose up and hoofed his aircraft up into the air, he accidentally pressed the pickle button, and this bomb came off the bottom and just disappeared into the wide blue yonder because he just flung it in a toss maneuver, and it went clean out of the range and disappeared into the middle of Wales.
Maybe nobody will notice.
Well, when he came back, he admitted it, mainly because there was a gun camera going off, so everyone could see what he did. So he had no chance to pretend it didn't happen. And the boss told him to go find an airman, go get in a Land Rover, and not come back till he found the bomb. Anyway, so he went to...
And he has not been back since.
Yeah, he's still out there.
He went to the range and he started searching the fields downrange, looking for this bomb. And he eventually found one, but he said it was only one of about 6 he found. So he didn't know which one was his. So he just threw one in the back of the van, in the back of the Land Rover, and headed home. But he said the fields there were full of old rusty practice bombs.
So it wasn't the first time that this had happened.
No, not the first time by any means.
Wow.
Makes you so proud.
Yeah, so here's some advice for you. Don't live near one of these bombing ranges.
Indeed, yes.
Probably a good idea.
Okay.
All right, moving on to this
Enough
next one
military.
from the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, released a preliminary report on that Learjet crash in Philadelphia on, let's see, so it talks about the incident January 31st, 2025, 1807 Eastern Standard Time, a Learjet 55, Mexican registration XAUCI, was destroyed when it was involved in an accident in Philadelphia. The two pilots, 2 medical crew members, and 2 passengers were fatally injured. 1 person on the ground was fatally injured. 4 people were seriously injured, and 20 incurred minor injuries. The airplane was operated as Part 129 air ambulance flight. Preliminary ADS-B flight track data obtained from the FAA revealed that the flight departed runway 24 at Northeast Philadelphia Airport about 1806 with the intended destination of Springfield-Branson National Airport in Springfield, Missouri. The airplane proceeded to the southwest before it turned right slightly and then entered a gradual left turn. The airplane continued in the left turn and reached an altitude of 1,650 feet mean sea level. The track data ended at 1807 at 1,275 feet MSL, 242 knots ground speed. The duration of the flight was about 1 minute. So it has some track data from takeoff from the airport and its final resting point. And let's see, flight crew was in communication with the airport air traffic control tower at the time of the accident. There were no distress calls received from the flight crew. The airplane initially impacted a concrete sidewalk in a residential and commercial area. Security camera videos depicted a large explosion associated with the initial impact. The wreckage debris field was about 1,410 feet in length and 840 feet wide. Let's see. The airplane was equipped with a cockpit voice recorder. Yay! We have a cockpit voice recorder. It was recovered. And let's see, from the initial impact crater under 8 feet of soil and debris. They sent it to the NTSB Vehicle Recorders Laboratory for processing and readout. Basically, the bottom line is they determined that the CVR did not record the accident flight, and during the audition, it was determined that the CVR had likely not been recording audio for several years.
Great.
Yeah, so that was no good. They're thinking, though, that they might have some information from the enhanced ground proximity warning system installed, the eGPWS computer, which may contain flight data in its non-volatile memory, was shipped to the manufacturer's facility for evaluation to determine whether any relevant flight data could be recovered. So at the time that they issued this prelim, the evaluation was still ongoing. The weather at the time, not good. It was night, IMC, 400-foot overcast ceiling. Winds were 220 at 9, 6 statute miles visibility. So, definitely solid night IMC conditions and instrument meteorological conditions. And as usual with these preliminary reports, sometimes there are little nuggets that they put in here that kind of may indicate kind of a direction they're going with their investigation. And this one, it really doesn't state much more information that we already knew from the beginning. Not much. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
No real indication, Jeff. There's not even a clue there as to what might happen.
No.
Yeah.
Jeff, didn't you say that in that kind of plane that the CVR isn't mandatory? Is that correct?
I don't believe that the CVR is a mandatory item for that, operating under that part,
Okay.
Part 129, but I could be wrong. I don't know really anything about Part 129 air ambulance operations, and I don't know if it depends on the actual FAR they're operating in or the size and type of jet. I don't know what, Camacho, do you know anything about that?
Well, I just I pulled it up when we were talking about it earlier.
Yeah.
And 129.24 says no person may operate an aircraft under this part that is registered in the United States unless it is equipped with an approved cockpit voice recorder that meets the TSO. The cockpit voice recorder must record the information that would be required if the aircraft was operated under part 121, 125, or 135 of this chapter.
But I think a key part of what you just said was registered in the United States, and this was actually a Mexican registry.
Yes.
So I guess maybe it depends on what their regulations are. Yeah. So I have a feeling it wasn't a requirement. So
yeah,
sadly, it wasn't recorded.
Well, and then when you roll back to like part 135, there's limitations on what's required for a CVR. So it's I haven't read through all of them, but it says like no person may operate a multi-engine turbine-powered airplane or rotorcraft having a passenger seating configuration of 6 or more. And then as you go down through it, there's like different iterations of seating limits and stuff, but it's always talking about passenger seating. So I don't know how that translates to non-passenger, like medical flights, which have people on board, but it's not really a passenger carrying operation.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what the definition of passenger is, right?
Right.
Okay.
Look for a final.
Yep. We'll be looking for the final report, and hopefully we'll have more information.
Oh, no, you don't. Got a video coming up, don't you?
Yep. I do. And I just noticed that little speed bump that we had at the very beginning knocked my screen share out, but now it looks like I'm back with my keynote. So if you'll share that, thank you. And then I'll push this button. This is a video news item, which we'll talk about and explain for those of you who can't see the video.
Southwest 3606, airport 10 o'clock, 12 miles. Insight, Southwest 3606. 3606, thanks. One more turn for you in just a second. Traffic out there, 1 o'clock, straight in for the north side at a 5,000. It's an American A321.
Perhaps I should set this up a little bit. This is Phoenix International Airport, and it's showing in the video, showing the simulated radar readout of the various airplanes operating in and around the Phoenix International Airport. Looks like they're operating west operation. I think the runways are 25 left, 25 right, and 26. And the subject of this video is the Southwest flight 3606, which appears to me to be on a base leg for one of the south runways. And at this time, he's basically heading due north. And also on the display showing several aircraft already lined up on finals for the 25s and 26, and they're trying to communicate with them. So here we go.
Insight, Southwest 3606.
Okay, good communications.
Southwest 3606, turn left heading 290, cleavage approach, runway 25 left.
Hello?
Southwest 3606, turn left now, heading 290, cleavage approach, runway 25 left. They approach Southwest 3606. Southwest 3606, turn left, 290.
Southwest 3606, Phoenix Air.
2790, you have the 73 off your left and side. American Southwest 3606, turn left immediately, heading 280. American 2790, cancel approach, corners, turn right, heading 360. Traffic alert, traffic off your left, north on 73 at 4000.
Okay, another pause. So there's an American flight coming in to final on 26 at 4,000 feet. The Southwest flight also at 4,000 feet, and they are 90 degrees headings, so converging. And looks like if they continue like they're going right here, that the Southwest flight is going to basically T-bone the American flight. So now the air traffic controller has to figure out how to deconflict this situation.
Tower traffic arrival at 3,000 American at 2239. 3606, turn left immediately, heading 240, traffic alert, 1 o'clock, 1 mile, turning northbound, 4,000 American Airbus 321.
Southwest 3606, Phoenix Air.
American 2079, climb, maintain 5,000 immediately. Turn right heading 360.
And approach, tower, Southwest 3606. Can I get a frequency for approach?
3606.
Southwest 3606, you're not able to reach him on 19.2?
I'll switch. We're clear brother, switch to the west. With you at 4,000.
Southwest 3606, you're still with tower.
Wow.
2079, climb, maintain 6,000.
6,000, American 2079.
South 3606, Phoenix approach.
What are you doing?
South 3606, Phoenix approach.
Switching to guns.
Yeah, no kidding.
4850, the airport 10 o'clock at about 1-2 miles.
Inside, Southwest 4850.
That's 4850, thanks. Spend LT, maintain 5,000 for now.
Okay, climb up to 5,000 for Southwest 4850.
Thanks. Any company out there, I'm not sure what he's doing, 4,000.
Okay, firm.
South 3606, Phoenix approach.
We got a rogue Southwest flight.
3606, turn left heading 180, vector back to final.
Right 360. And 6,000, Southwest 3606.
You said 180, not 360.
South 4850, turn left heading 290. Can you still make the airport there?
South 290, Southwest 4850. We can make it.
South 4850, turn left heading taxi standby. Traffic is just off your left there. It's the company 4,000. I'm not sure which way they're turning. Do you have them inside?
Yeah, we got company over 126, Southwest 4850.
So on Southwest 3606, Phoenix approach, how do you hear?
We've got you loud and clear on the right turn to 360 at 4,000.
Where you been?
3606, thanks. Climb, maintain 5,000.
Up to 5,000, Southwest 3606.
That's 4850, clear bridge approach, 25 left.
Go first, 25 left, Southwest 4850. We have that traffic inside.
Thank you, American 2079, turn right heading 080.
Right turn 080, American 2079.
Southwest 3606, climb, maintain 6,000.
6,000, Southwest 3606. So Southwest 3606, we going to 26 tonight?
3606, which runway would you like?
We're set up for 25 left if it's available.
3606, you can expect it. And what happened back there? You lost comp?
Yeah, it's, I switched frequencies too soon and we lost you.
3606, okay, turn right heading 180, vector runway 25 left, send to maintain 4,000.
Right, 180 down to 4,000, Southwest 3606.
Southwest 1133, reduce speed to 1.
Okay, from what I recall, I just saw watched this last night. That was pretty much it. They finally got him back on track and lined up for a runway.
Take it out?
Yes, please. So, yeah, this happens. You inadvertently you make a radio call, and then for some reason you just like hit with your thumb. You hit the little switch or some aircraft comm heads. Push a button or whatever, but something, one of the pilots the pilot not flying, likely, that was talking on the radio, probably just for whatever, inexplicably, flipped the switch or hit the button or whatever, for no reason. And, then basically lost comm. But I don't know. It seems like at some point he was hearing or he was transmitting, but he wasn't hearing. I don't know. It sounds like some kind of confusion with the interphone panel to me, but in a very inopportune time when you're because they were concerned, right? They were expecting that dogleg turn to final, heading from tower or radar, and they weren't getting it. And like, okay, yeah, when are you going to give us this heading? And then, Jordan in our live chat, would that be considered a possible deviation? Or just written off as a mistake? Well, I would think that this would qualify for a deviation. I know that for sure this would be something where the pilots would say, yeah, we definitely have to fill out the ASAP report and the what's the thing NASA report. So just to protect themselves. It sounds to me like it was just an unforced error, human error.
AJ's got the answer here.
And AJ, Alpha Juliet, says he pushed the button that no pilot should ever push. Yeah. Although occasionally we do have to push that button. It's all about timing, I think.
So that equipment doesn't have any memory, right, of the previous frequency?
No, it does. So okay. So we're talking in general terms here, and from my experience flying airliners with the airliner communications heads, usually they're you can put in it's a head for two different radios, VHF communication radios. So on one side you have a frequency, and then on the right side, like the left side, you have one frequency, the right side you have another frequency. And so when you switch from one to the other, the previous one's still there, unless you've already changed it, like in anticipation for another frequency to come. That happens a lot. I mean, I'm sure that everybody here on this panel has done this accidentally from time to time, where you...
Nick saying, no, I've never.
Oh, no, Nick, you've never, Nick Anderson, Captain Nick, you've never made this mistake.
All the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
I can say that I've done it too. And
famous for it.
Were you? But you know what's fun? It's usually the way that I recall realizing that I've made a mistake is that, you're on tower and you're kind of, over the final approach fix, and then all of a sudden you're hearing ground control giving taxi instructions. And you're like, well, why am I hearing tech? And then you look down and go, switch back to tower.
Well, it's good to think ahead.
Radio check,
just
to make sure, you're back where you're supposed to be and you haven't missed anything, and like, am I going to be violated?
Well, my classic was usually setting something up on the other box in preparation for calling ramp or speaking to the company we're on the ground to find out what gate we've been allocated, all that kind of stuff. So you've got two radio boxes, and each box has got two frequency windows. So the way it normally works is box one is the one you're working with air traffic. You've got an active window is the one you're actually transmitting and receiving. But the standby window, you can dial the next frequency into that you're going to need in preparation. So all you need when you're allocated the next frequency is to press the button, and those frequencies swap over. So the frequency you were using is now in the standby window, and the standby window is now in the active. That's all very easy. But I was classically, always trying to think ahead and get the frequency we needed on the ground in the number 2 radio, and I'd do it to the number 1 radio by accident, or I'd get myself muddled up somehow. I often found, and when it all goes quiet, you suddenly realize there's no one talking to you anymore. And you're looking down going, I haven't a clue which box I just messed up.
All these airplanes are all around you going like, why am I not hearing
I have
any?
a lot of sympathy with them. But when you're in busy airspace, it really is not the time to do that make that kind of a mistake.
Yeah. So iHaul Boxes is pimping me a little bit, I think. He says, pilot not flying. Hey, Joe, what are you doing? I don't know. Not flying. So we used to use these terms before we had pilot flying, pilot monitoring. That's I think the current verbiage we use, or whatever, for our labels that we use now. But in the early days, probably before you were born, iHaul Boxes, we said pilot flying and pilot not flying. But yeah, then they said, well, It kind of gives you the idea that the pilot not flying is like what iHaul Boxes is suggesting here. He's not doing any. He's reading a newspaper or something over there, But actually, pilot monitoring, the person not doing the flying, that's actually a harder job than flying the airplane. Honestly, there's a lot of things going on there. You're responsible for a lot.
Yeah, you're dialing everything up and moving all the flaps and gear and other services. You're monitoring 2 radios and changing all the frequencies on them.
And sometimes the wrong.
And reading checklists. And there's a whole bunch of things. Yeah. And it's very busy on the approach when you're doing all this. So I'm just going to have a quick shout out for the air trafficker for not losing his cool over this, because, we've heard a lot of air traffickers who really get quite annoyed and upset and vent their feelings on the radio when they eventually get hold of these people again. But no, he was very relaxed about that. So
good point.
that.
Good point. Bravo for that controller. Yes, sir.
One weird part you mentioned, Jeff, is that they told him to do one thing and then he decided to do another thing. When they told him to turn to 180 and
he's doing 360.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's only 180 degrees off. I mean, you know.
Right.
I just thought he was chasing that other airplane down, the one he'd been trying to collide.
Maybe so. It kind of looked that way.
I apologize.
and that just goes to even more so what Captain Nick was saying regarding the fact that the controller didn't get nonplussed about the whole thing. He went, okay, I said 180 and you're flying 360. Why are you doing that? He didn't do any of that. He just went, okay, well, at least I know what I think you're doing. Or you're doing what you think you're doing. I don't know. It was a big mess. You'll have, if you want to see the video, you'll see the simulation of all these airplanes going all over the place there. That was quite a problem.
And one of the problems, as you heard from the Southwest aircraft, eventually you get completely confused as to which frequency, the actual frequency you're supposed to be on. And he eventually said, what's the approach frequency, please? Because I have no idea. 19.2. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can do that now.
Yeah. Is that one not?
You're often trying to look at the plates as well to find out what the frequency is that you're supposed to be on.
Well, you know, you can always go to the COM2 radio head and just start transmitting on guard. Like, hey, help me. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing out here.
Amongst all the meows.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was an interesting one. Anything else to say about that other than mistakes happen? And it's the recovery from this mistake that's the most important thing. And I think it was a good recovery.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that always made me nervous when you're coming into a really big airport and you might have dual or even triple simultaneous approaches going on. And, you know, and especially when you're on that base leg and you're pointed at all these this other stream of airplanes going into the runways, and you're anticipating that 30-degree intercept heading and the clearance to intercept the localizer or the final approach course. And it's, I don't know about you guys, but I always got nervous when somebody came on and they started doing a radio call and they take forever and you're going, I need my turn. I need my turn. And this guy's yakking away, not even thinking about everybody else out there. And then finally when they stop, the controller like immediately says, Delta so-and-so, turn right, you know, blah, 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 you know, intercept the you know. In those situations, you don't really know, you know, you think, well, I'm pretty sure he's going to want me to intercept the localizer. So you're kind of like, I'm going to turn. I'm going to start turning. And even though he hasn't told me to turn, I think I should, because I see these other airplanes out there. And yeah, it's a mess, or can be anyway. All right. This one report from the Aviation Herald, a final report. We talked about when did this happen? Back in September of 2023, at Denver International, there was a United Boeing 737-9 MAX, registration November. Oh, there you go. Another MAX. Registration November 37560, performing flight 329 from Denver to Boston. So they were accelerating for takeoff on 16 right. The crew rejected the takeoff at high speed in response to a radio transmission from tower reporting that they could see fire from the left-hand engine. The crew affirmed and stopped the aircraft, subsequently reporting it appeared they had flat tires on the right side and were disabled. The runway was closed. Emergency services responded. Tower cleared the crew to evacuate if needed, stating that the runway is yours. While emergency services were responding but had not yet reached the runway, Tower informed emergency services that they no longer observed any fire. It appeared to be extinguished. Flight crew reported for the flight. Captain and first officer met to review the flight plan, maintenance documents, weather, and NOTAMs. It was then that the captain noticed that the airplane had just come out of maintenance. The flight crew reported that the airplane would be close to maximum takeoff weight and that the temperature would be high, and the flight would be taking off on runway 16 right. Airport ops made runway 16 right the designated runway for departures that day, since it's the longest runway at Denver with a length of 16,000 feet. Once I don't know how many meters that is, but it's a lot. Once the flight crew were on board the airplane, they reviewed the takeoff performance data, where they noticed that the planned takeoff weight was more than what would be allowed for a takeoff from runway 16 right. The weight at the gate was 172,800 pounds, but they needed to be below 171,700 pounds. So they were a little over 1,000 pounds overweight.
4,876 meters.
4,876 meters. Did you get that right, Liz?
Yes, correct. Yep.
Okay, that's so for those of you who measure distance in meters, that's how long that runway is. Very long. Okay, so they go, okay, well, we're going to be too heavy to use 16 right for the atmospheric conditions at the time. Captain reported making a call to dispatch where he spoke with a different dispatcher than the one that created the original flight plan. The original flight plan had been created using a lower temperature of 29 Celsius, which had been correct at the time, but the temperature had since risen to 31. The new dispatcher sent 3 flight plan revisions. Flight crew reported that the first revision removed 1,000 pounds of cargo, but did not remove enough weight to be within limits, and a second flight plan was requested. The second revision removed another 1,000 pounds by removing 8 passengers. The flight crew mentioned to dispatch that there was about 1,000 pounds of extra fuel on board and could be burned off with an extended taxi, and dispatch sent a new revision to the flight plan that required an extended taxi to burn off the 1,000 pounds of excess fuel to reduce the takeoff weight instead of removing the passengers. Okay, so they're thinking, customer service here. These 8 passengers want to go with us on this flight, so let's figure out another way to make this happen. So the flight crew reported experiencing a normal pushback before performing a long, slow taxi to the runway with the power elevated while applying additional braking to burn more fuel. Now, when I read that paragraph right there, I went, oh, no wonder this happened. This is high altitude, thin air, it's warm, and you're putting a lot of stress on the tires and the brakes and the landing gear assemblies when you have these conditions, and then picture this, you have the throttles up, above idle, so you're producing more thrust, but you have to do something to keep yourself from going way too fast on the ground and hitting other airplanes. So you have to keep the brakes on, to keep the airplane from going too fast. So now you're introducing all kinds of additional energy into the landing gear, the brakes, the tires. They can only handle so much. So once reaching the runway, the flight held there for an additional 10 to 15 minutes while the parking brake was set. That's another thing that's not good because, you have to have the parking brake set, right? Otherwise, you don't have to have it. But you'd be moving if you didn't. And so, but that's not a good thing when you have hot tires, hot brakes, to have the parking brake set. That's one of the things that we learn. That, you got to, release the parking brakes if you can to allow for cooling. Okay, so the pilots reported that they never had any indication that the brakes were getting hot, and that the Boeing 737 has no brake temperature monitoring system to inform the flight crew of brake temperatures. I really find that hard to believe. Really.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm assuming they're not telling a lie there.
No,
but I can't believe that an aircraft this modern, 737-9 MAX,
it's like one of the latest,
doesn't have brake temperature indicators. They're such a basic and important piece of kit.
Yeah, I as you said, it must be true. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in this report here. But wow, really? And then the flight crew even commented that every other Boeing that they had flown had brake temperature monitoring systems. But I guess they weren't, kind of out of mind, out of sight, out of mind. They weren't really thinking about the potential consequence of how they were operating that airplane on the ground that night. And I think that their heart was in the right place. They were trying to do the right things, that they didn't have to remove any passengers, and they were going to make it all legal. But they didn't really think about what effect this was having on those tires out there, obviously.
Yeah.
And then
particularly for a very heavy airplane, which when your aircraft is close to max takeoff weight, just taxiing it around will elevate your tire and brake temperatures enormously because of the additional squashing that the tire undergoes as you move the aircraft, roll the aircraft around. That just generates a considerable amount of heat in the tires. And we covered this, and I've mentioned it in some plane tales. So, you really do need to understand the physics of what you're doing when you're not only taxiing a very heavy airplane around, but doing so with increased thrust and trying to oppose that with your brakes and probably dragging the brakes, which is something we never really do. The technique that most pilots do is they allow the aircraft to accelerate slowly if they've got enough thrust, accelerate, and then when they reach a speed where it's getting a bit uncomfortable or reaching the limit, then they slow the airplane down in one go. You just apply the brakes, let the airplane slow, and bring it down to a sensible speed, say like 10 knots or something, and then release the brakes completely and let the airplane go through that acceleration cycle again. And that is the best way to keep the brake temperatures and therefore the tire temperatures down.
Boxes has got a great comment here.
IHAL Boxes in our chat says, when she's in heat, ain't no stopping her.
Oh,
okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting comment. Once that heat starts building up and it just basically goes out of control is what he's saying here. I think that's what he's saying. Yeah. So, and just to compound the situation, the elevation of the Denver International Airport is what, a mile high, right?
A mile high, yeah.
5,000 some odd feet.
Yeah.
And so, that just makes things even worse. As far
Does that mean if you're in the Denver Airport Hotel every time you make love to your wife, you get in the Mile High Club?
You said that perfectly. Yes, that's what that means. Bravo.
The other thing I was going to note is your brake temperatures have a big impact on your rejection speeds during the takeoff, because if you got elevated brake temperature, the brakes can only absorb so much energy. If you try and do a fast rejection with brakes that are already very hot, they will fade and fail on you. So they will affect your V speeds during the takeoff. And I bet they hadn't taken that into account as well. So not only are they taking off on a hot airport, which is always a bit of a worry when it comes to rejection, they're doing so with brakes that could be very hot.
Yeah. And one thing
You're playing kisses at me.
No, I was communicating with Liz, telling her to put this slide up. Look at the rims there. No, they're not underneath the runway surface. They're completely ground off, I think. Is that what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. If you go down to the last paragraph, it says that the number 2 engine nacelle scraped the runway.
Oh, yikes!
So that's how far
And it was throwing out like hot molten bits of metal into the side of the fuselage.
To the side of the plane.
Yeah, that's crazy. You'll have to look at the images in our show notes to see what we're talking about.
It's a very broken airplane.
The horizontal.
I wonder what the chief pilot had
structural
to say.
damage.
Yeah, the horizontal stab received structural damage. That's way back beyond the. I'm wondering about the brake temperature monitoring system, whatever. I'm wondering if the 737 is one of those unusual configurations that when the gear comes up, it doesn't go into. Well, it sort of goes into a well, but there are no gear doors that come up behind it and close it off. It's just the wheels are still. You can see the wheels when they're in the up position. And I'm wondering if they're thinking, we'll never have to worry about hot brakes because it's always exposed to the ambient air temperatures or whatever. And we're not closing it in a box and, it continuing to heat up and all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thinking behind it.
Another thing that I thought was interesting, and I don't see them mentioning it anywhere else in here, but the crew rejected the takeoff because of performance. And then all of the tire stuff happened afterwards. But it says the captain was a pilot flying and reported quickly noticing the aircraft not accelerating normally during takeoff roll. He immediately rejected, and then it goes into the
that kind of is that kind of contradicts what they said at the beginning, where the tower told them that they had fire coming from their left engine.
Right.
And it seems like most everything was happening on the right side of the aircraft, right? I don't know. I'm a little confused about that.
IL Boxes has some info here.
IHAL Boxes in our chat says BTMS is an option
temperature monitoring system
on the 737 as from the NG new generation series.
Well, I must admit, I'd have gone for the massage pilot seats before I'd have gone for a brake monitoring.
I think we all would.
Yeah, but there you go.
They went for the
That's
MCAS
just me.
instead.
They went with the MCAS. Oh, too soon, Liz.
Oh, yeah,
soon.
that's way too soon. That's another can of worms we want to keep firmly closed.
Yeah.
Put that in there, Jeff.
Yeah, too late. It's
So
all in there.
You're right, Nick. You're absolutely right. They don't seem to have come to a real conclusion as to why they rejected, because they've got two differing opinions as to why they rejected. But I can understand their traffic perhaps misidentifying where the smoke's coming from, because it's probably being fanned around.
Yeah.
And looking at the aircraft at a low angle, it might be a little hard to see.
Yeah, I just wondered if it was, going back to what Jeff said, taking off a max gross airplane at 5,000 feet, if it's very warm, just getting performance that they're not used to, even if it was within the normal operating capability of the airplane.
Yeah.
Just starts moving really slow. I've had that experience in little airplanes where you push the throttle forward and you're like, this doesn't feel like it should.
Yeah, I always hate that feeling, right? It's like, is this right? It doesn't feel right. And yeah. Huh. Okay. Well, there you go. That's what happened there. This is from Aviation Herald. Okay. So we talked about this GOL, G-O-L, Boeing 737-8 MAX, Rio de Janeiro, where they were clear for takeoff on a runway, and then at the latter stage of the takeoff roll, they swerved a little bit. There was a thumping noise. We had a video of the passenger taking some video, pointing out the right side of the aircraft as they roll down, and then all of a sudden you hear this thumping noise, and then a very quick deceleration and stop and abort situation. And we had mentioned the fact that there was an airport vehicle, a maintenance vehicle, that was like pretty much on the center line or very close to the center line of the runway that they hit. And so we were, at this point, we didn't know much about why was this thing here? Was it just out there parked, nobody in it? Well, from a commenter on Aviation Herald, the vehicle had authorization from the tower to enter and be on the runway. There were 3 people inside the vehicle. 2 people were sitting in the front. They managed to get out and run away before the jet hit their vehicle. And 1 person in the back seat lowered. So in other words, he just ducked and stayed in it. Now, if you're watching the video and if you're not, then please look at these show notes and see this vehicle. I don't think it was designed as a convertible pickup truck. But yeah, the whole cab, top part of the cab, from the top of the door line up is like gone. It's just twisted metal. That's pretty amazing that, it says the ground radar was not working at the time of the incursion. So it sounds to me like it was a mistake by the ground and tower, up in the tower cab. Somebody had forgotten that they had given authorization for this vehicle to be out on the runway, and they told this 737 flight to take off. Good luck.
I don't know about you, Jeff, but if I was sitting in the driver's seat in the front of that vehicle and I realized that there was an aircraft carrying, I reckon I could have driven it off the runway faster than I could get out and run off the runway.
I would think so. Yeah. That would be my initial reaction, I think. I don't know, but maybe by the time they realized that an airplane was coming at them, that they just didn't have time to do that, and they just went with their base reaction, which is just, I need to get away from this thing because we're about to get killed.
Why were they on the runway with their gyroflex lights off? And I had to look that up.
I don't know what that is. What is that?
It's a manufacturer of safety stuff,
Like a yellow beacon or
including
something?
the lights that get fitted to police cars and presumably airport vehicles as well. So this Gyroflex is the name of the company.
So they were in stealth mode.
Yes, they were.
Undercover.
Well, yeah, you do wonder if they were actually authorized to be there if they didn't have the damn lights on. So
Yeah, that's just odd. When you look,
That is odd.
and you look at this photo, this first one here, of the undercarriage of the 737. I mean, if it looks like they perfectly maneuvered the airplane to go right over the top of this truck. And it's just like all torn up in that area, but like between the main gear.
Yeah, how did the nose wheel miss them?
I don't
Did
know.
it manage to squeeze in the little bit between the nose wheel and the main gear?
I'm perplexed.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, this could have been
and
so much worse.
The guy that just ducked in the back, I mean, he must go out and be going out and buying his, his lottery ticket. That was his day.
He won't have to have a haircut for a while.
Yeah, how the hell he got away with that, I do not know.
I don't know. Yeah. What is it? God protects children and fools.
Right.
And me.
And Captain Nick. Yeah. I think you fall in one of those categories. So which one, Liz, are we going to end with?
I thought we'd do the underwear one, but it's up to you.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that for sure. All right. Well, here is an interesting one. From Paddle Your Own Canoe. Yeah, leave it to Matuz Mazinski. He says, enraged with being subjected to a pat-down search, man strips naked and rubs underwear in face of a TSA officer at Indianapolis Airport. Wow. That headline basically says everything, right?
Yeah.
A 38-year-old man became so enraged with being subjected to a pat-down search by TSA officers at Indianapolis International Airport that he stripped naked, rubbed his underwear in the face of one of the security officers. George Stevens of South Carolina has landed himself in federal prison for the next 2.5 years for the lewd act after he pleaded guilty to interference with security screening personnel.
They gave him 2.5 years for that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think they should have given him more?
Underwear.
It was dirty underwear. If you had seen that underwear, you'd probably gone for 10.
Exactly. Life. Death penalty.
Yeah, life in prison. The incident occurred my question is, this incident occurred in July of 2023, and it's now March of 2025. So I'm wondering if all the time that has elapsed, has he been in jail, or does his prison sentence now just start? Doesn't really say here. Let's see. So he was going through security, and during a body scan, they indicated that he needed additional screening of the chest, groin, and buttocks. Prosecutors alleged that Stevens initially complied with the requirement for a pat-down search, which started with his chest, but when the officer began to pat down his groin, Stevens flipped and started calling the officer a freak. Appearing intoxicated, he objected to the search repeatedly, telling the officers that they didn't have anything on him and just wanted to get home before suddenly pulling down his pants and his underwear and exposing his genitals to the entire TSA checkpoint.
That's why he got 2.5.
Just as the police arrived, he continued to strip naked. Yeah, why stop there? Removing his jeans and underwear and forcibly pressing them into the face of a TSA supervisor who had been called to assist with his erratic behavior. At this point, he removed his socks so that he was now standing stark naked in the middle of the TSA checkpoint as he began advancing towards the supervisor. At this point, he was placed under arrest and taken out of view of the traveling public, including families and young children who had witnessed his lewd act.
Well, the essential thing there is there was alcohol was involved.
Yeah, alcohol does seem to be involved in this situation.
I know why he got 2.5 years now.
Why?
Yeah, the next section.
paragraph. Following his sentencing earlier this week, it was revealed that Stevens had an extensive criminal history, including multiple offences of domestic violence and firearms offences. Ooh. Let this message be heard far and wide.
Far and
wide. The lewd and violent behaviour towards security staff will not be tolerated in this district and will be prosecuted to the fullest extent, said the acting U.S. attorney for the Southern District of Indiana. That is a tough one. He got a total of 33 months in federal prison, which would be followed by 3 years of supervised release.
This could have been a case where going commando may have been an advantage.
Yeah.
But,
I wonder where to attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Right.
All right. Well, there.
All right, let's get to know
that's
you
a good
guys.
one. Thank you, Liz,
But
for
we don't
that.
want to get to know you that well.
Yeah, getting to know us, but not that well. It's the time of the show where we strip down naked and shove our underwear in your face. No, it's the time of the show where we kind of get all caught up with what everybody's been doing between shows. And before Nick Camacho leaves us today, we're going to go ahead and ask him what he's been up to. We kind of have an idea, but he's going to confirm all that.
Yeah, I've been working an awful lot the last few weeks, traveling. I'm trying to think. I can't even remember the last time I was on the show, but I think since I was on last, I've been down to Dallas, Texas, and back to Wichita, and then out to Key West, Florida, and then back to Wichita, and then out to San Luis Obispo, and then to Utah for a bit, and then finally got home here about 2 days ago.
Well, yeah, I guess you're kind of missing going to the northern U.S. border somewhere up there, because it sounds like you got all other parts covered.
Yep. So, yeah, it's been a lot of work, but visiting some new places. Key West was new for me. That's a very nice place to visit. Their airport is a disaster, though.
No, which the actual civilian airport or the Navy base?
The civilian airport.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it may be under renovation or something, but it's just like there's too many people and not enough room in that airport, at least when I was traveling through.
And even the runway is kind of short, I think.
The runway is super short. It's like 5,000 feet or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, watching all these like A319s and everything come in was interesting. We were, there's also a high performance jet operating there while I was there. So that was interesting to watch. Yeah, but it's just, and admittedly, I was there, I think at like the peak. Let's see, I was there middle of February, beginning of February, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So like peak of travel season. But it was just like wall to wall people. And I was going to mention during that TSA, during the TSA article, I feel like TSA has gotten a bad rap, and they had some instances of being kind of poorly run, but I feel like in my travels, TSA is generally like the smallest issue. It's now it's kind of how the airlines book things, and when you get weather delays or maintenance delays, the flights are so full that it becomes hard to rebook and everything. But I've never really had any issues with the TSA. So
you're keeping your underwear on then?
I am.
I
am.
It's good for everyone.
I did have an instance of me and another coworker were going through security at one of these places that I had traveled to, and I had a backpack and he had a backpack, and then he had a checked bag of stuff for work, and they pulled both our backpacks. Even before we got to security, he's like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting going through the scanner." And then we go through, and they pulled both our backpacks to like do the hand check to them, and then the work stuff came right through, and we're just standing there in a line with a reasonable amount of people behind us and all the TSA people around, and he was just like, "How did that get through? That's the bag they should be checking." I was like, "Hey, man, Let's time and place here. Time and place. Let's not.
So I've missed what was in the bag.
It was just some, radios and antennas and stuff. So it wasn't anything super bad. We just thought probably looks kind of funny to them. Like doesn't look like standard fare for travelers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I was in California for a week and a half, and unfortunately didn't get to do any of my usual activities because we were pretty stacked up with work. I just got home. Fortunately, I've been traveling enough since the beginning of the year that both times I've been home for like longer than a couple of days, we've had winter storms. So it's been snowing and super, super cold. So it looks like the temperature has finally taken a turn for the better
Good.
in the last few days. So I'm hoping to be able to get caught up on some stuff and do some flying and outside activities here in the next few weeks.
Nice. So you plan on being in the Kansas, Wichita, Kansas area for a while?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'll have a few weeks here, so that'll be good.
Excellent. Be good to get reacquainted with your family.
Right. Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, that's good. Anything else?
Nope. I think that's about it.
All right. Let's see. I can go quickly because, you know what? Oh, shoot. No, Nick, you go, because I just remembered that I have something that I have to present that I completely forgot about until right now.
Going to present something, or do I get a medal?
Yes. We are presenting now Captain Nick Anderson with the prestigious Long Service Award for host of the Airline Pilot Guys since 2016.
I think you can probably remove that from editing if you wish. Yeah, it's been a good week, thanks. Mainly involved in the celebrations of my lovely lady wife, her 210. I achieved my 210 6 months ago. So she always lags me, and then she calls me an old man for 6 months. And then when she has her birthday and catches up, and we're both the same age for 6 months, she suddenly forgets to do that. So there you go. Anyway, we've had family meals, get-togethers, presents, new car, blah, blah. So she's a very happy lady. And I have been prepping the talk I'm giving to the Hawker Association next week. So this is a new talk. It's about the MRCA, which properly stands for the Multi-Role Combat Aircraft, the Tornado, that I was unfortunate enough to have to fly for 3 years. I've titled the talk Mother Riley's Cardboard Aeroplane, which is what we always called the MRCA. Anyway, it's a bit of a view of the history of the MRCA and what it was like to fly, etc. And I describe it as a curate's egg. I don't know if that phrase is common in America.
No, I don't know what that is.
A curate's egg. It's an old story of a curate who was, I don't know exactly the position in the church, but he was a sort of the apprentice to a priest who, ran a diocese or whatever. So he was always very subservient to the vicar. Anyway, he was being treated to breakfast in the vicarage, and he was given a bad egg by the vicar's wife. And when asked how he was enjoying his egg, he said it's good in parts, which was as best he could come up with.
Damning with faint praise.
Yes, damning with faint praise. Anyway, that by the by, the Hawker Association, they are probably happy to accept visitors if you fancy popping along and listening. It's at 2:00 on this coming Wednesday, 12th of March. I'm sorry, that's Thursday, is it? 12th of March? Shall we have a quick check?
Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday. And it's at quite a historic building. It's part of the old Hawker aircraft factory in Kingston. So it's now a YMCA building, and it's called YMCA Hawker. And you can find it in Lower Hound Road in Kingston. Just Google it, YMCA Hawker, and it's all that remains really of that amazing old Hawker factory, and it's part of the sports association, or the sports facilities that Hawker had on their at their factory. So that's where it'll be, 2:00 there, and I'll be pitching up and chatting to the lovely folks of the Hawker Association. What else is going on? Not a lot really. I don't think there's much else to cover yet, except
I'm always impressed with all the things that you do in your retired life, and making speeches, and people showing up to hear all of your wonderful knowledge and experiences.
Yeah, there's always enough suckers out there.
Well, I'm thinking about me. I just kind of hide in a little house on wheels and, hope that nobody notices I'm there.
Yeah, I think you're doing enough, Jeff. Running this podcast, you're reaching a much larger audience than I ever will doing these talks.
That's a scary thought. Anyway, no, that's to say I'm impressed with the fact that you attract so many people to hear your experiences, because we get a little glimpse of that here on our show with the Plain Tales and your logbook episodes, and just fascinating to me.
Well,
so,
thanks very much. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, artwork. Started off with a picture of a US Navy Hornet being plucked out of the ocean by an aircraft carrier, because I think it was Tim, wasn't it? Came up with the suggested show title, US Navy Fishing Tips.
Mm-hmm.
So he's fishing for this Hornet that went into the harbor and sank. So that was the initial idea, and I'd almost finished that when I decided that a much better idea was the idea that we were going to have Ladies' Night at the APG. And that was based on the fact that last week there were an unusually high number of ladies in the live show.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely to see them all. It was absolutely fantastic.
I see we have scared them all away this week.
Yeah,
Tanya's there. Tanya.
Oh, Tanya and Masha.
And who else? And Masha. I saw Masha earlier. So I let the AI get on with that, which they did. They showed all the APG listening ladies there having a bit of a session at a podcast, and we were talking about solo mugs, weren't we? I'm trying to remember.
Yes, the solo cups, the red solo cups. Yep.
So I included that because obviously these girls will be drinking a lot of beer, and there's a flying solo cup spilling its beer in there. And the logo is pretty easy to see because that's projected onto the wall behind all these dancing ladies, which is looks good. The show number would not have been so easy. Did you manage to find it, Liz?
I did not. No.
Okay.
No, I looked. I couldn't.
Well, you can barely see it there, actually. If you look along the right-hand edge of the G of APG, leaning on its side is 65.
Wow.
2.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah, that's.
I can see it.
Well, yeah, but
the resolution of the screen transmitted on YouTube is on the StreamYard is not quite as good as it was on the original picture, but that's where it is.
We're just going to have to trust that that's what it says.
The G.
Yeah.
Go full screen. Nigel Demery will be there with it projected onto his wall 50 feet across. He'll be able to see it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about everyone else. Anyway.
Even out in Bali?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, exactly. So that was last week's show.
Well done.
It's very nice.
Thanks.
I love the
Shall I
ladies'
mention
night.
the nipples?
No, you probably should.
Okay. It's just that the AI isn't very good at doing things like nipples, so
but
I'd help it out a bit.
Well, so iHole Boxes had a nice comment regarding that.
Fishing tips, just tips. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
Anyway,
They said the better.
yeah. So very, very well done. I love that. Love that concept. All right. Anything else, sir?
No, it's me, Tom.
All right.
Over to you, Jeff.
Okay. I've been still bebopping between campgrounds here in the Atlanta area with a stay at a hotel thrown in for good measure every now and then, just to cut down on the driving and such. And I'm back here in the Fairfield Inn in Alpharetta for last night, and I'm supposed to be checking out today, which I will after we finish this recording, and then I'll be up at Lake Lanier again for a few days. And so enjoying life, enjoying all that stuff, and singing at the church.
I have to interrupt you for a minute, Jeff. Felicity is here as well today.
Felicity is here.
Made herself known.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Didn't see you there before, Felicity. And so we have at least 3 females in our live audience. So it's great to see.
I'm here.
Oh, well, you're not part of the audience, Liz. You're part of the crew. Anyway, so I've been doing a lot of extra singing because this time of year for Christian churches that are liturgical, the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, and the Episcopal/Anglican Church in the liturgical year. You've heard of Mardi Gras and Fat Tuesday, and what is it that you call it? Shrove Tuesday up in Canada, which is basically the last day before Ash Wednesday, which was this past week. And so we had a couple of masses that I sang in on Ash Wednesday, and then Fridays in Lent, my church does something called they call Stations of the Cross, and there's a little bit of singing in that, not a lot, but just a little bit. So I've been involved with that, and then last weekend sang in all the masses I always sing in. But I did get an email from one of our listeners just a few days before the weekend, or maybe just a day or two before the weekend, saying that he was, his name's Garrett, was going to be in the south or the middle Georgia area, and he was going to make his way up to Atlanta to check out some attractions. So I'm here in Atlanta, pretty much hang out here most of the time now in my life, and with one of our community members. His name is Garrett. He contacted me, I guess, just a couple days ago, said that he was in Georgia and was going to be in the Atlanta area over the weekend. And if I had the time, an opportunity to get together, let's do it. So I said, okay, yeah. You all know how much I enjoy doing these meetups and meeting listeners in our APG community. And so here we are. I said, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And he said, well, how about something that's kind of like applicable to Southern culture and cuisine and that kind of thing, like maybe barbecue or Southern cooking. Okay, I love barbecue. It's been a while since I've had a good barbecue sandwich. So, and I thought, he was going to be down in the downtown Atlanta area. I'm up in the northern suburbs, trying to find somewhere in between the two, so we don't have neither of us have to go out of the way. So chose this place. It's a chain called City Barbecue here in Atlanta. I think there are in other cities as well, but I think mostly in the southeast. But anyway, I thought it was pretty good, actually. It's been hit and miss. I've been to a few of these locations here in the Atlanta area, and I've had some awesome barbecue and some okay kind of barbecue. And anyway, well, I'm just yakking away, and that's all you hear when we're doing the show. So I'm going to let Garrett say hi and give y'all a message, and then we'll send it back to the studio. But here's Garrett.
Thanks, Captain Jeff. I really appreciate this opportunity to hang out and just chat for a while. And the barbecue is good. Definitely enjoyed it, but certainly the conversation was much better. And so just this fantastic opportunity for me to get to know you and talk to you in person. So not just some voice over my car stereo speakers, but really someone living and breathing. And just thanks so much. And just back to you.
All right, yeah. I was going to try not to say this, but here it goes. and I've said it so many times, those of you who have listened to the show for any period of time know that Jeff's going to say the best part about doing this show is getting to meet up with the community, and it's true. It may be a cliche, but it's actually truth as well. So really enjoyed getting to spend time with you, Garrett, get to know you, and I'm glad that we had an opportunity to meet in person, and yeah, that's all I have to say, I guess. So we're going to send it back to me in the studio. Take it, Jeff. Okay, thanks, Jeff.
It was funny.
It was fun. It was very nice to meet you, Garrett. Hope your drive back south of Atlanta and your flight home later in the week was pleasant and safe and all that. Yeah, so if you ever if you're in the Atlanta area and you want to meet up with me, just send me an email like Garrett did, and I'm always up for having an excuse to try some new restaurant or drink some good beer or whatever. So, all right.
Coffee fun.
That's it. Coffee fun time. All right, here we go.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh yeah. The Coffee Fund is your way to support our show financially if you have the financial resources to do so. And a couple different ways to do that, and we'll point you to how you can learn more about that at the end here. But the first is the Coffee Fund Classic method, and that's basically a PayPal donation page. And we have the usual suspects. Thank you very much for our recurring donators, Jenny Parkinson, Vignir Mazutz, and George Hollis. That's the Coffee Fund Classic method. As you see here, we have people that use that as a recurring payment method, and also most people use it just for a one-off kind of, I feel like giving them some money because I love everything that they do. Well, maybe not. But anyway, the other thing that we have here is Patreon. You can become a patron via patreon.com. And since, we have a new producer, Mistress Alaya. Alia. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. Alia. Anyway, new producer at Patreon. So welcome aboard. Thank you very much for signing up as a producer. And you can find out how you can join our coffee bar club by heading over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. And as I like to say, you'll be glad you did, and we will too.
Captain, incoming message.
Alrighty, let's see. What are we going to start with here? We're going to start with, this was sent in by a long time. I was going to say a new listener, long time listener, but the first time that he has sent feedback to us. He calls himself Pilot Boy. He says he's not a boy, but he is a long time listener. So, and I'm assuming he's probably a pilot too. But I don't know. Maybe not, because he said he's not a boy. Yeah. Maybe he's not a pilot either. I don't know. For real. Yeah. So anyway, we've covered this kind of story in the past, but I thought, man, it might be worth just talking about it quickly again. He said he stumbled across this article, should make for an interesting talk. He says, I love your show and keep up the laughs. Okay, we will. So this is from simpleflying.com. What do you think about Airbus's proposed double-decker seat design? I don't really think much of it, actually. Liz is kind of displaying one of the images, which we'll have in our show notes, of the very unusually designed arrangement vertically of these
especially the lower
passenger seats.
Is awful. What if the guy farts in your face?
Yeah, exactly. I think people have made the comment that if you're in one of the lower tiers of this arrangement, that you might actually have tears because of the passenger in front of you, seated in front of you, and you're basically at butt level. And if that person experience, and that never happens on a jet, right? With pressurization, people letting fly some inner gases. I don't know if they've considered that in this design, but
rubbing your face
I would have thought so.
Yeah,
I thought they'd have made the back of that seat just completely impervious.
A special filter. It's all a
charcoal
filtration
filters
system. Actually, that may be really.
And
what
just
they've
bear in
done.
mind that hot air rises.
Yeah, that's true.
I think it's ridiculous.
How is
but
it
there
that
you
you're
go.
going to have an evacuation
That's
scenario
one.
with
And
this?
the other one is don't the overhead bins get in the way a bit?
Yeah.
I mean, where are you going to put all your hand baggage?
Imagine if you landed and
I don't
flipped
know.
and you were hanging upside down in those two things.
Yeah, that would be.
Well,
even
you'd be good if you're
more
in the top
complicated.
seat because
you'd be close to the
ceiling,
or
which
the
is now
ground.
the floor.
Yeah.
You better
Good
pay
point.
less in the bottom seat.
Yeah, I don't know. The good news is that most of these crashes that are survivable crashes, the airplane ends up upright, not upside down.
That's
It's kind
true.
of unusual.
Anyway, who gets the window?
I don't know. I mean, what do they got? Yeah, what do you do about the windows?
It's going to be that
Yeah.
plane like you had for the April Fools. You remember that glass plane you had, Nick?
One with the glass bottomed aeroplane. Yes, that was a good joke.
Well, honestly, Pilot Boy, what we think about this is
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, definite thumbs down.
2 thumbs down right there. All right. But thanks for reminding us of this ridiculous design. All right. Let's go with Texas Charlie. And he says, howdy, partners. I figured I'd sketch my notion of a good old American cowboy pilot. We talk about cowboy pilots quite a bit here on the show.
Ow! That's an accidental discharge.
He said, I figured I'd sketch my notion of a good old American cowboy pilot. Then it struck me to toss Captain Jeff in that saddle, but reckon some of the crew had a bone to pick about my past caricatures. So here's what I rustled up. I reckon it's a fair likeness. Love the show. Hope all are well. Texas Charlie. So there you go. There's his caricature. I thank you for making me look so chiseled in the jaw and so thin.
Yeah, nice dimple in the chin.
I wish I kind of looked that
Look how slim
fit.
you are.
I know. That's what it could be like maybe if I stopped eating.
I think your wings are a bit bat-like. So
I like that.
I don't know what aeroplane you're flying with your bat wings
But
on.
how's he flying backwards anyway? Like he's flying.
Well, I'm very talented,
Well,
Liz. I'm talented
he's
with my
obviously
backside.
keeping the passengers under control.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'm doing. I'm standing at the door, the cockpit door, the open cockpit door, and go, okay.
Yeah.
You listen to me now.
Listen up
Don't-
here. You
Don't anybody
partner.
be fooling around or trying to come up here and get us because you're going to be dead.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I just put a hole in the fuselage there.
Oh, wait, whoops. I shouldn't have shot my pistol inside the frame here.
There's our title from Metro
What's that?
Doc.
Mad Dog Cowboy. Metro Doc says it's a good Mad Dog Cowboy. Woohoo! Yeah, shoot some guns and stuff. All right, thank you, Charles.
Well, he put a lot of effort into that, though. That's great.
Yeah, I did. I love that. Very nice. Very nice.
Look, Maine Marin says the dark nail polish is
Dark nail polish is a nice touch. Well, I don't. That's just the shadow.
I guess.
I stopped wearing nail polish
You
years
like
ago.
the lighter colors anyway, don't you?
Yeah, I prefer the.
Okay.
Actually, no, it's kind of off track. We'll just keep this thing on track. All right,
You could just save me the trouble of doing the artwork this week and just use
that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I like it. Mad
Why
Dog
not?
Cowboy, you're done.
Because that is a Mad Dog.
Slap
cockpit.
on a logo and a number. You got it. Do it.
Yeah, perfect.
There you go. Why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Becky.
Yeah, Becky Roush sent in some feedback. I really appreciate all you do, she says. Thank you, Becky. Appreciate that. Listening to each week has been a part of my life for many years. I loved hearing Roberta's feedback. Remember what it was like when I first found the podcast and felt so at home with people I haven't yet met. But then when you get to meet them, you find out
such a disappointment.
Very, very disappointing. I'm just an AV enthusiast and have some thoughts on your discussion. Feel free to use none, all, or just a piece. Accountants use software, but we don't say they aren't doing accounting. Yeah, we're
talking about when there's automation in the cockpit. Are they saying they're not flying? But now she's trying to draw an analogy with accounting. Like there's automation in accounting, but they're still doing accounting.
I see. Okay, that's a good analogy. She continues, computer programmers now use a myriad of languages rather than binary and machine language, but we don't say they aren't really programming. Any more than using automation means you aren't really flying the plane. Okay, good point. Surgeons have robotic assist for all sorts of standard surgeries, but no one suggests anyone could go in there and run the Da Vinci, which is the surgical device. Surgeons make the process happen, whether by doing the equivalent of hand flying or the equivalent of using an FMS. And similarly, if the crap hits the fan, they call on all their skills to get a good outcome. They may not need all of their skill very often, but when they do, lives hang in the balance, like you. People get nervous about surgery too, and I've heard surgeons say this was a piece of cake, which in their view may be true. This particular surgery won't use all their advanced skills. However, I would still want someone with really good skills to do my surgery. Oh yeah, absolutely, Becky. Very good point. I love the analogies. Thanks to Liz for helping me sort out what you were trying to say to me as I stumbled around trying to read your lovely words. Thank you for being part of our community and for sending the feedback in. Becky?
Yeah, I love that, Becky. It's great. I think we're our own worst enemies quite often when we play down the skills required to do our job. In the same way you mentioned the doctor might, but sometimes it's hard to tell people what it's really like because it sounds like boasting.
Mm-hmm. You're right. I agree. All right, let's continue. Oh, look, Steffen, Captain Steffen, who was busy today. I invited him to be with us on the show, but he is a flight instructor and had a student booked for today while we were recording on Saturday. He is showing the APG brand in Doha in the Middle East United Arab Emirates, and he's referring to The Simpsons, I think.
Well, that's the code for the airport.
I know that's the code for the airport, Doha, yeah. DOH. But when I see DOH, I think of D''OH. Do. Homer is always says that. Anyway, beautiful. That's a beautiful shot there, and of course, he's wearing the most important part of this. Not you, Steffen. The most important part of this is that ball cap that you're wearing that has the wonderful Acme logo. So thank you for going around the world and flying the flag, so to speak.
He's a missionary for APG.
He is a missionary, an APG
Do you think
missionary.
That arrow was accurate, pointing at the airport?
I have no idea. I've not been
there. Is it actually out in the ocean? I don't know.
It could be. It could be the Navy base.
A floating boat, a floating airport.
Maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe it's so far in the distance that you can't see the land. Maybe there's land.
No, the Earth's flat, so that
it is. It is out on a big peninsula. Well, not a big. It's out on a peninsula, so it depending on the angle, it could be out there in the.
Well, I think we're going to require more proof because we don't see any airplanes or anything.
Hamad International Airport.
Hamad International Airport. Okay.
Oh,
very interesting.
There's Doha.
Nice pictures, anyway.
Yeah. So thank you, Steffen, for sending us that.
By the way, Steffen, don't keep walking. They haven't finished building that pier yet.
That bridge isn't complete.
Well, he might like to get in the water. It might be a little warm. Of course, the water's probably pretty warm too there.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we talked about Roberta, from Becky did anyway. Roberta up in Victoria, BC, sent us this. I was going to try to remember to, I'll put it in right here. That's better than the actual real sound clip. Thank you, Liz. Hi, Captain Jeff and crew. Was surprised today to hear you read feedback from a listener commenting on Roberta's feedback. Well, now I guess I am a regular. After listening to all past episodes from APG 256 to the present, I jumped on the time warp and went way back to episode 1. Today, I am up to 128 and a half. I have particularly enjoyed the first appearances of Hillel. Still waiting to find out how he got into your shower. Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out, actually. I've actually forgotten the whole point of him in the shower thing.
Because you were always in hotel rooms and like he was, he was with you, and what was he doing while he was waiting to be on? He was having
yeah, you're probably right. Let's see, the Roadrunner and the first mentions of Steph. You've now met her twice. Okay, she's not quite up to the episode where she joined me as a co-host, which I think was 152. My question today has to do with balloons. I don't know much about them, but should they be flying at 54,000 feet? No, they shouldn't be flying at 54,000 feet. And are they...
Are you sure about that?
Well, I mean, I'm saying they shouldn't be, but they are. Are they all manned? In this case, I hope not. I recently came across 2 balloons on Flight Radar 24 floating above Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Out of curiosity, I checked their elevation, and wow, what a difference, as shown in these screenshots. February 14, number 1, HBAL 717 balloon at 54,000 feet. Oh, yeah, that's because I flew the Boeing 717, and we throw these balloons out every once in a while when we're up there at 54,000 feet. No, I don't. HBAL, that must be the identifier for that balloon, 54,000 feet. And then the same day, November 809 X-Ray Romeo, another balloon at 4,000 feet. Yeah, that seems much more reasonable. She says, is that normal? Or has the HBAL 717 balloon at 54,000 feet escaped and is disappearing into space? And then she said, continued, a few days later, I checked my bookmark for the aircraft and saw that on the 17th of February, HBAL 717 now is showing 57,700 feet, closing in on South America. Let's see, HBAL 717 with speed and altitude graphs. So I don't know how to interpret these. And then recent flights from HBAL 717, which flew several times daily until it departed on the 13th. Is this balloon now lost? Also, in general, wondering, do balloons show up on your radar? Are there a lot of them up there? Do you have to take steps to avoid them? Okay. So again, that's from Roberta in Victoria. Now, Captain Nick, it sounds to me like you know something about this one that was up in the 50,000 foot altitude levels.
Yeah, well, I did some research on this particular balloon, and it's controlled by a company called Aerostar, and Aerostar, amongst many other things, they produce the Thunderhead balloon system, which is a stratospheric cruising balloon. So it's designed to go way up into the stratosphere. And the payloads it can carry vary depending upon the customer's needs. But if you think about it, if you can get a balloon up there with a radar, then and you can put solar panels up there to power it, then you get a pretty good view of the Earth's surface, and it's considerably less expensive than flying a satellite. So you might want to put a radar on it. You might want to put electronic intelligence gathering equipment, so electronic sniffers up there. You might want to put a lot of very high-tech gear that can float around relatively benignly, quite hard to see, I suspect. But you can even guide them, they claim, so that you can get them to be fairly stationary by changing their altitude to take into account the direction of the winds at different altitudes and get them to more or less stay in a particular area. You can even move them into a new area by picking the right winds and descending them into and flying them along, supposedly. Of course, if there isn't a wind blowing where you want to go, you're a bit stuffed then.
I was going to ask you about that.
Because a big problem with balloons.
Yeah, the stratosphere, isn't it true that the stratosphere has like very, very light or non-existent winds? I guess it must have.
Well, I suspect that's why they fly them up there.
Yeah.
If they want to move, I suspect they might need to lower them into some kind of what place where the jet streams are kicking around. But yeah, I think they can probably, with a reasonable amount of forecasting, work out. So yes, you're going to find these balloons up in the 50s and 60,000 feet, perhaps even higher, because they I did look up the world record for a balloon, and it is very impressive altitude. The atmosphere gets very thin up there, which is why the strange kind of it looks like a balloon stuck in the end of a sock. So it's got this huge ability to expand, and in addition, you can put a burner in. I don't know if this particular system has a burner, so that you can actually heat the gas in the envelope and change its altitude that way, or cool it. So it's a well-known idea, and in fact, I recall we covered a collision between a military aircraft and a balloon on a wire that was being deployed somewhere in the Middle East. I'm trying to remember the story exactly, but that was the gist of it. They had this high-level balloon, but it was attached to a wire, so it couldn't get away, and they were using it to elevate a radar system. And then somebody flew into the wire. So that was a bit silly. Yeah, but that's effectively what it is. I've got to move.
Yep. iHall Boxes in our live chat says, in South America, Google's got their loon balloons to provide wide area internet connectivity.
Yeah, that's another great use for it.
So imagine there's some kind of a method for.
He's come back and said that's been closed.
iHall Boxes says sorry about above.
Well, I think they can still deploy these balloons with internet for things like disaster area internet connection. So if you've got a remote part of the world where they're trying to do rescues post an earthquake or something, you can deploy these balloons up there to provide internet coverage for the rescue services, and also do photo reconnaissance, not only of a disaster area, but also military intelligence. And in fact, I suspect some of the balloons that came across America last year or the year before,
the Chinese
that were actually shot down. Might have been doing the same trick.
I bet you're right.
High-level balloons doing intelligence.
So they obviously have a way to control these and communicate with them. I'm wondering if that involves like relaying off of satellites because they're up so high, and sometimes out in the middle of nowhere on these big oceans. And I would imagine that's probably the way
I would have thought so. Although if you're using, I suppose if you could just control the balloon or send the balloon some messages via the internet, you could probably do it using those low Earth orbit satellites, Starlink, perhaps. So perhaps Starlink could connect them to the internet and you could guide them on your home computer. I don't know. I don't know enough about it because I suspect being manufacturers that deal with the military, they're not going to reveal a lot of the secrets of how these things work. But if you see one on your flight radar, it's almost certainly being controlled, I suspect, and perhaps doing a mission, or it's just on a test flight or something. So now you also asked, do balloons show up on your radar? If you're talking about a civil airliner, no. Because although having said that, I have seen aircraft on the weather radar, but it's a very hit and miss affair trying to get the radar to display a radar, because they're designed to work on a completely different frequency than that you would normally have to pick up something large like an aircraft, or won't pick up the balloon very well, but it might pick up the hardware that's dangling beneath it. Although if they're flying anywhere near civil air corridors and they're not doing anything secret squirrel, I wouldn't be surprised if they had ADS-B and or transponders on them so that air traffic controllers could keep an eye on them and guide aircraft around them. Are there a lot of them up there? No idea. You're going to know more than me if you keep an eye on flight radar 24, then you'll be able to see them. And you have to see, if you see one, yes, you can take steps to avoid them. I don't think they do you a lot of good. It's not like a weather balloon, which is pretty frangible, and you can fly through a weather balloon without doing a lot of damage. I think these carry more equipment than that. So you would, if you did cut shatter them, they're pretty big pieces of kit. So I don't see why you shouldn't be able to see them, perhaps not at night. Although balloons are supposed to be, legally, they're supposed to carry lights. I don't know if secret squirrel balloons carry lights. Rather defeat the object, wouldn't it? But that's not a secret squirrel. That's just a squirrel.
That is our secret squirrel.
Boy, for someone who doesn't like balloons, Nick's become our correspondent on balloons. He knows a lot.
No, I definitely do not like balloons.
He's really starting to become a balloonitic, I think.
Yeah,
no, I did this for Roberta. Sorry, I did a little bit of research for her,
and likes the girls. He likes to do.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Yes, and I like Victoria as well. It's a lovely place. I'd love to live there. My brother's not far from there.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you answered that one, Captain Nick, because I had no idea. Would have just shrugged my shoulders.
Made something up.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it would have sounded as good as what you said. So, yeah, thank you. All right, we're going to wrap this thing up. We're going to make it a short show because I have places to be and people to see and all that kind of stuff. Short. Number 13 feedback. And he didn't say what you thought he just said. Sam Dawson. I know you never do that. Gosh, like every show. Two nations divided by a common language is the subject of his feedback. Not quite aviation related. That's okay. We do non-aviation stuff here. While on an EDI overnight, what does that mean?
Edinburgh.
Oh, Edinburgh. Okay. Overnight, I made a side trip to North Berwick for a hike.
Berwick.
Man, let me start over. Berwick?
Berwick, yeah.
Yes. Berwick. So the W is silent then.
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Not quite aviation related. While on an EDI overnight, I made a side trip to North Berwick for a hike and saw this caution about burning toasters and refrigerators. So it says, let's see, please be aware when leaving this car park, fire appliances may be leaving the station. Huh. Yeah, so...
Captain Nick.
I can see how that would confuse, because it makes it sound like your toasters are actually on the railway, doesn't it? And they're leaving the railway
station. Got to watch out for those.
I suppose it could be the bus station.
Yeah.
Fire appliances are very common terminology over here for fire engines and the like. We don't have ladder trucks and all. I suppose we do, but I don't think we call them that. You guys have a whole bunch of weird bits of kit over in the
that's the way we do it.
Fire to put it out.
Yeah. Well, you'll have your home appliances and your, personal appliances, and then you have your fire appliances.
That's right.
It makes sense. Yeah, there's just difference in size and in performance. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Anyway, don't forget that's Scotland.
Yeah.
So they have a different language up there.
Would that not would that not be on a wall in one of your areas there, Nick?
What, in England?
Yeah.
I don't know. Next time I pass a fire station,
would you go in and ask, please?
I'll go and ask where their appliances are.
Can I come with you? I like firemen. They're usually pretty good looking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. By all means. I'll ask them if they'll grease up for you.
Okay, thank you.
On a previous episode, I don't remember exactly when, but I think we were talking about the incident that occurred near or in Vancouver, and we were talking about the call sign of the ARF vehicles, red, red 1, red 2. And then I heard that we were covering another incident, I think in the province of Ontario, and they too are referring to their vehicles as red. So I think at some point somebody had made the comment about like that would be confusing, but apparently that's just the way they do things up there in Canadian land.
Be confusing up here.
Red is the thing.
You've got yellow fire trucks.
Yeah.
Well,
that
then
would be very confusing.
Then they'd use yellow on the for the call sign. No, probably not. They'd probably still use red. I don't know. Anyway.
Okay, let's wrap it up, guys.
I guess it's time to wrap this thing up.
It definitely is.
Oh my gosh. All right. Our website. We like to point you there, airlinepilotguy.com, where you'll find all kinds of good stuff. Just check it out. See what you think. And a couple of those bios were updated. I updated mine, and
Mine's up to date.
And Liz is updated as well. So yeah, update yours and send me the new information, and I'll upload it on the website. But anyway, you can learn more detailed information about the hosts and learn how you can become part of our community, and
Coffee fund.
all kinds of good stuff. Coffee fund and more information about the plane tales. And we even have a library. Tiffany up in Buffalo, New York, manages that for us.
What does she charge for overdue books?
I'm not sure because I've never checked anything out, so I'm not sure. We'll have to ask her. She's pretty lenient. She's a very nice person, and she's very smart. And
does she wear glasses?
She's a lawyer and a librarian.
A lawyer?
Yeah, Yeah, she's a.
I better shut up at this point.
Yeah, you probably should.
She's actually in charge of our legal department as well.
It might be too late, actually. Our legal department. Yeah, she should head our legal department. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, all kinds of stuff like that there. So check it out. And we're also on the social medias. And again, I'll just tell you about YouTube, which is where we are right now recording the show live. YouTube.com/airlinepilotguy gets you there. And then Captain Nick is going to tell us about the other places that I hardly ever go because I'm just not much of a social media kind of guy.
Not very social, though.
No, I'm not very social.
I'm going to stop you for a second because I've been asked what's on my T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
My eye-hole boxes. It's a MiG-21 sort of advert.
Nice.
There you go.
So what does the Russian writing say? Is that like...
That's the name of the manufacturer.
Oh, wow. That's like...
in Russian.
Oh, so it's abbreviated MiG, but that's the actual full name. Wow.
I'm assuming so, since I don't speak Russian. I'm not sure. It could just be this bloke's a twit or something.
That's probably what it said. Ignorant.
In Russian.
Ignorant English person. And somebody, before you go, somebody was wondering about my the painting in the background there and what the significance of that is, and I have no idea. Okay.
Oh no, it's from the inside of a Boeing, watching all the windows disappear.
No, it's there to coordinate with the color coordinate with his shirt and his eyes.
Oh yes, and we're kind of coordinated.
Really?
Yeah. Anyway,
cool.
nobody actually
nice
asked. Nobody asked about that. But okay, let's do the social meets.
Right. If you're a Facebook fan, you can find us on facebook.com/airline pilot guy, all one word. On X, I think we can stop calling it Twitter now, can't we? On X,
but you just still had to say
APG Crew. Yes, I still had to say it. Just in case there's someone there who hadn't realized. Instagram. Instagram.com, you can find us using the handle APG Crew, again, all one word. And if you're a YouTuber, then go for youtube.com/@airlinepilotguy/streams to find this rubbish.
Yes. Or you could just go to Airline Pilot Guy on YouTube and find us there.
Ugh.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, have you noticed the lights behind me? They only come on when I'm speaking.
Oh, I did not notice that they were flashing only when you spoke.
Yeah, it's clever, isn't it?
Wow.
So they've been on a
Pretty
lot.
fancy. Yeah.
Yes.
So
have indeed.
This is good information. Thank you for telling me. Now I can just turn your volume completely down. I don't have to listen to all that gibberish. And then when I see those lights flashing, I go, oh, I should probably listen now. Or no, when I see them off, then I can start talking.
Exactly. Yeah, you know when I've shut up.
Okay, who's in the shower, Jeff?
Oh, who's in the shower? I don't know. I'm guessing it's this guy that likes to hang out with me, and not with me, but in my Hillel.
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
Thank you. Help me out here. Tell us about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas. We suggest episode and Plain Tales topics. We plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel. All right.
By the way, my shirt says, according to Whitehall Boxes, Mykoyan Gurovich. So M-I-G, Mykoyan.
Is Russian your first language, or is because you said that so well? So what is that? I guess that's what the company name is then.
The company name, yes.
Very cool. Very nice. Very nice. All right. Oh, Marin says. Nick is going to update his profile. Says no longer likes long walks on the beach.
You had one this week.
I'm no longer looking for a bit on the side.
No. But you had a long walk on the beach with your lovely wife this week.
I did indeed. And our stupid rugger, who's getting on a bit now, he's 11, he decided that some old man up ahead was us and set off up the beach. And we had to chase him for 30 miles up the beach to get him to come back because he's so deaf now. He didn't respond. Eventually, Zada, our young 4-year-old, worked out what was going on and ran up the beach and retrieved him, which was very clever.
Wow, Zada.
Has Rugger's fur all been filled in now from?
No, there's still one patch that's still a bit. I do sort of blend it in using Photoshop nowadays.
Good.
He's still got a funny patch on the side and on his tail, come to that.
All right.
Oh, well. He's just a lovely old fella.
He is. And we'd also like to thank Liz, our birthday girl.
Hey, thanks, Liz.
She had
old news.
She had a birthday. Well, it was just yesterday, and it's like your birthday weekend now, in your birthday month.
Yeah.
So I hope you had a wonderful birthday, Liz.
I had a lovely birthday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. And
Was it wasn't a significant one?
No, but I'm in a significant year now.
Oh, are you now?
Mm-hmm.
The beginning of a significant year.
Yeah.
For our producer.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. And we'd also like to thank our live chatters, our live audience.
Yeah, thanks for giving up some of your weekend to spend it with us.
Knowledge, they are.
They are.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And thanks to Texas Charlie for saving Nick having to do cover art. That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Very helpful. All right.
Could we have a high definition version, please?
Okay, did you hear that, Texas Charlie? He wants
Texas
a
Charlie, we need
high
that.
def version. I'll let you work that out with Captain Nick, and I guess that's
16 by 9, and the short side 1440 pixels, please.
Nick, I'll give you his email. Why don't you just write him a little note?
Probably the best thing to do. People are listening to this going, what? What are they talking about? All right. Anyway.
Let's wrap it up.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Well, I'm trying to. All right. I'm just going to say then, thanks everybody for listening to us, and hope to see you again next week, and wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
See you next time.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Good day.
I used to be such a good pilot till I started APG. I opened doors for little old ladies. I helped them to their seats. Airline pilot guy, I fly America. Oh, airline pilot guy, he can land in heavy fog. I got no friends 'cause I'm always flying. I just don't have the time. But I can land this old plane. I can land it just fine. Airline pilot guy, I fly